It has been such. I know it's been a minute for everybody since we had our last broadcast. Um, there's a couple of quick things I want to say. First of all, I want to welcome y'all to um, Unfiltered, and um, what I wanted to come on tonight to just say on behalf of uh, Mr. Reese and Miss Hills and myself is that we appreciate all the well wishes we got from every one of our followers, fellow podcasters, and um, fans as well, especially in regards to some of the most recent things that we've happened have happened in our family. Um, I'm not gonna lie to everybody; it's been a little tough. It's never easy when you got to say goodbye to family members and friends and loved ones, especially when you have really good relationships with them. I wish sometimes, real talk, we've talked about healing a lot on our podcast, and that's a mission that we have that we really felt from all three of us, me, Mr. Reese, Miss Hills, that we felt so deep in our hearts that we had to push for in regards to healing in every area of our lives, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Just because the world is such in bad shape right now, um, we try to be proactive in regards to those type of situations. But the fact of the matter is, we are not in control of everything that can potentially happen to us throughout time. You know, things happen, and the one thing that I can definitely say is that when they happen, as we've said here before, that the only thing that you can control is your reaction to it. So for these past 3 weeks, uh, especially for myself, and I know that my fellow hosts have been going through it as well. Um, it's been a lot of healing that needed to go on, and a lot of things also have to go into that we kind of needed a rest. We needed a rest from a lot of different things. As you pour out, you also need to be poured back into. And well, I say this mini sabbatical about 3 weeks, almost close to a month that we've been out, is really, or excuse me, was really needed. Um, we are to dispel some rumors. We are um, still uh, working as a group for our podcast. We have some great topics that we really want to get out and discuss with y'all in this coming um, months as we approach season. My goodness, season 5. As we approach this season 5, um, we have we have a lot of great ideas, better ideas. I don't know why I stopped saying to say that, but we got a lot of better ideas. Um, we are making a real good paradigm shift into a lot of other different things that we want to do. I'm allowing the opportunity because Mr. Reese and Miss Hills. Um, Matter of fact, hold on, I think Miss Hills here now, but it's a real shift, as I could say, in the atmosphere. Um, we, I know myself when the idea for Filter came up, uh, which would be almost 5 years ago. Come January, it'd be 5 years. So the idea to have an outlet not just for news, but for open dialogue and conversation came into play. We wanted to make unfiltered something not only extremely different, not only extremely better, but something extremely real. Um, I can't thank God enough for the people He's allowed to be um, in this podcast, whether in shape or form, behind the scenes, um, in person. It has just been extremely amazing, and I love it so much. Um, and it's always great that people who watch it and see it come to us on the street or anywhere and say, "Man, we really love y'all podcast. We love it. We love the fact of how y'all are just different than other podcasts." Um, I know we got something special here. I know it with all our hosts. I know we got something incredibly special uh, that we have going on here with Unfiltered. Um, as we get to approaching the end of season 4, which anyone who's watched our podcast normally happens around um, October. Uh, I just want to say that I'm so grateful for every single one of our fans, every single one of our followers, every single one of you out there who has consistently been with us, and even the ones who are just catching on to Unfiltered. We are so grateful for you. Um, as we start to dive and dig deeper into so many different issues, um, so many different topics that will challenge us to think outside of society's box and even the boxes that we create for ourselves. We not only ask that y'all continually take that ride with us and share and spread the word, but we ask that y'all continually pray for us too. Um, that we know effectively that prayer absolutely changes situation. Um, and we are so strongly set in our strong belief that as long as we have God, that we have everything that we need. Um, I know Miss Hills is here, so I'm gonna let Miss Hills introduce herself before we um, go any further. Um, let her say any words that she feels on her heart to say, and then we would just take it from there. Like I said, we won't be above, before y'all long. The main thing for tonight was just to let you all know that we appreciate all your prayers and every single ounce of support that you've given us during these couple of weeks of situations that has happened within our family and the passing of our loved ones. Um, but just to let y'all know, we appreciate you. We thank you. We are doing better. Um, and we will continue to be with you all with our podcast. And those things have changed, but we did need our time down in regards to this. So, Ms. Hills, if you can hear me, I hope you ain't having technical problems. Um, if you got anything to say, um, you can go ahead and say that now as you please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Awesome. I just want to say that, hey, everybody. We just thank y'all, like Randy said, for praying for us. Continue to pray. And we're doing the same for you guys. We know everybody is having different things that they're going through, not just us, everybody.
Right.
So my encouragement is that we do lean into prayer and lean into God during this time, because it's easy to lean into everything else.
Right.
And if we actually take the time to, like we're going to talk about with our topic tonight, pay attention, the things that we're leaning into that's not God is not really long term. It's not really substantial. It's just temporary. It's not really giving us a solution or real help that's long lasting. So that's my encouragement to everybody, wherever you are, however it's set up for you. The method is not the same. It looks different for everybody. So it's whatever it means or however it's set up for you. Lean into God. Don't run away from him. Because he's gonna be the only solid thing that you can hold on to in the midst of what you're going through.
Mm-mm-mm. Absolutely, I can't say it better, no better myself. Um, and tonight's the topic that we have for tonight, and it's basically one topic. I know on the thing that says uh talking about double standards, but we that may be a part of it. But what we actually want to talk about tonight is something that it's kept coming back up over and over again. Not just within this last week, but just coming up so much. And one of the biggest things that I always get, especially when we have people talk about the show, is just talking about, man, that you may y'all focus on people being healed, and it's been like that for the entire year. That's what I've been focused has been on. Um, and we've said a lot of strong words. We've had accountability, um, discipline, unselfishness. But one of those things that we talk about, and it's a really big thing. It's in your getting therapy, or when you need help with situations, or you're trying to get over situations, especially when it comes to self evaluation. We always got to remember we got to be honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
got to be honest, and I think that gets lost in translation. I know, Miss Hills. I know we didn't talked about it so many times, but because one of the questions I even remember you bringing up too is that one of the questions people have is, how do I get the help? How can I get over the change? How can I do these things? And I've seen before where people would, um, some people say they would want to get therapy, and I was like, that's an excellent first step. Go ahead and reach out, and get therapy. But what I have noticed too, and I mean, it's just not just everything, but with married couples, I remember going this when I was married, that we went to pre and post marital counseling after. You know what I'm saying? And one of something that happened is that I remember when first went, we went to the marriage counseling, and I absolutely agree that we needed the first time, and we needed it afterwards. Excuse me, we needed it afterwards as well. But sometimes the problem is people go to counseling, especially like in marriages, and I've noticed this a lot, in the hopes that they can say what the other person is doing wrong, but not taking accountability for what they're doing wrong.
Absolutely. Yep.
Uh, And I've seen that so many times in so many different marriages, including my own, where we got there and you know I wanted the full experience. I wanted to not just. I think that's a bad word. I wanted to get everything I needed to get out of it. So I was being very transparent, very open. It took a minute to get stripped down um, in the marriage counseling, and when I did, I was actually open to see some things that I saw by myself. Now, on the other hand, the other person didn't like what they heard about themselves and never really fought to have those things change. And maybe even still to this day, still haven't done all the changing they need to do for themselves. And that's the danger of therapy and what makes it ineffective when people are not being honest. So, our topic for today is self evaluation is pointless without honesty. So, understanding that when you have to go through issues, when people say I want to have self discovery. I hear this is a very very popular term with a lot of um, people, men and women. I mean, I need to find myself. I need to find myself. And they say it so much. I need to find myself. I need to find myself. But you're really not doing anything to try to find yourself per se. They're not really doing anything to find yourself. Um, I think some people often get um, carried away in their own lie, and
Mm.
this is just I know I kind of want you to touch on that more, Fifi, than me, because I know what we're talking about. It's and I noticed that I'm not saying men or women. I think I know it for a fact it's both. They get caught up in this own self image of themselves, where they honestly don't think that they're the ones that are the problem. Uh, and for that point, therapy and counseling is ineffective because this person refuses to admit their own faults and take accountability for them. So where they'll get to someone and they'll say, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine," and you're not fine. You're not good. Uh, it's really dangerous. I think I've said this a couple of times. I think it's a very dangerous narrative that we spin when we always looking for scapegoats for the decisions that we make, even though we have free will.
Mm.
I think it's very dangerous. I had oh man, I don't know what I did with that. But most men I had where I was one day just asking men and women some different questions about when it came to therapy. One of the biggest things I did notice is that the stigma of
Yeah.
therapy is low, way lower than it was a while ago. So that's I think that's a very good thing that stigma is dissipating. But the problem is that stigma is still there. And the other problem is that most people think therapy is about telling the person that everybody else is the issue. And that's why I kind of like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, no, no, no. Therapy is about
You.
you. And I don't know about that part. So I want you to go ahead and talk about what do you what is it? Why do people? What does it seem that people want to say? Look, I want to go, and I know you heard it because you've mentioned it before. When people say that self discovery or like I got self discover or try to find myself, and it's interesting that you keep saying that, but you're trying to find yourself, but you're still doing the same habits, the same things that you did previously. It's like, is this really self discovery? Are you really trying to be discover yourself and see where you at? Why do you think so many people? Do you think is it a cliche term that people are using now? Because I hear it more and more. I gotta find myself. I gotta reflect on myself, reflect on my life.
Man, so much to unpack. So much to unpack. I mean, my goodness.
I
So
know.
I'll just start and say, in my opinion, I believe it's a trend. Now it's trendy. It's what everybody doing. So I think a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people have just gotten with the trend. This is nice to say. This is what everybody says you're supposed to do. So I'm going to just act like I'm doing these things and talk about it, but I'm not really making any real personal strides towards really learning about what this really means, what this is, and how it's going to affect my life.
Right.
I really believe that. And then I feel like most people Honestly, most people don't really understand the magnitude of things.
Right.
They feel like it's a good idea, and then once they get into it or start with it, then it changes into this, I feel like you're forcing me. I feel like this is something that I signed up for and I thought it was going to be this way, and now it's not, and I want to get out of it. But now I feel like I'm forced to do it because I said I was going to do it. I feel like that's what it's turning into when it comes to like some people really actually believing that they're doing the work, but they're really not. When it comes to people like signing up for therapy and feeling like it's a good idea at first, but like you said, the example you gave, once you get in there, you start hearing stuff you don't really want to hear about yourself, and you're not really ready to deal with that, or you just don't choose to deal with it. And then you feel like, oh, I'm gonna just stick it out and do this so I can say I did it, but I didn't really get anything out of it because I didn't put anything into it.
There you go. Absolutely, I absolutely agree with that because I do notice that so much that when people do say that, it's just like what you said. It's like you're doing it for a trend for some reason, and when it gets that trendy, that's when I get scared because you're trying to figure out why exactly do y'all want to be, because anybody that's gone through these type of issues, it's not something that you are like, oh, it's not something that you wear as a badge of honor, if I can say that. It's not like you wearing it as a
Absolutely.
badge of honor. You saying it because you really want to get the help needed to get yourself better.
Yep.
So it's just like what you said. I just feel like some people say it and they don't really understand what it means. Um, and at one point in the time, I thought I was thinking that myself because some people might say they get out of relationships. I mean, this normally happen around breakups most of the time, especially in this day and age. We broke up, so hey, um, you know, I need to do some self discovery and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's the idea of self discovery is that they get with someone else, so it's not self.
It's not.
It's
It's
not
not.
self. It's really weird because you have to really evaluate yourself to that point to get there. And it's like people. I think some people. What is that when they say the phrase when they say ignorance is bliss,
Yeah.
and people kind of get happy in their own ignorance. Well, I don't want to say happy, but they get kind of comfortable in their own ignorance. So they're like, well, let me just go with it. And I can speak from a man standpoint. I know men do it a lot because men tend not to want to go to that deep, 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 deep area.
Yeah.
Um, so some points like, man, oh, I ain't gonna talk about that. I'm good to go. And I sit back because I was one of them that was like, man, I don't really want to go there with that. So what
Yeah.
men do most of the time, they kind of suffer in silence, and that's the absolute worst you can do. And I think that's why we in the state that we are on both sides because people are
Yeah.
just suffering in silence instead of doing the work. And like you said, and if you could touch on this one, why do you think? Because I know that's going to come up later. Why do you think people don't want to be honest with themselves when it comes to self evaluation?
Because they don't want to face the truth. And they feel like facing the truth, if it's negative or if it's something that they view as bad, they feel like, this is my opinion again, this is not factual, but I believe that once you really see yourself and you don't like what you see, you feel like you're worthless now. You feel like you're just bad. You don't see the good. You get stuck in that, oh, this is bad, this is negative, and instead of seeing it in a perspective of, okay, I got some stuff to work on. I got some stuff that I need to work on that I can better myself in and I can help myself with. I feel like people just don't want to face that. I feel like it's just a stubborn spirit too. I feel like people don't want to give it any attention because they know that once I give this some attention, I can't ignore it anymore. I can't pretend it's not there. I can't be passive aggressive. I can't keep brushing it off. Like, I have to really dive deep into this. And I just feel like people don't want to do that because it requires a lot of work that they don't want to do. They rather give that same energy to new relationships instead of dealing with themselves. And now you're carrying that same issue, drama, whatever, into the next relationship. with this new person, and then you're adding on whatever they're carrying to you because now you're in a relationship together. And I just feel like people don't want to take the time to work on you. People say personal development all the time, and like you said, self-discovery, but they're not really doing the work because that requires you being by yourself to do the work. People don't want to do that. They don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to do the work on their own individually. It's like when you take a test. You can't take a group test. Like, yes, you're in the classroom with other people, but you can't necessarily, unless that's the way it's set up, which is really never really seriously set up that way. You have to individually take this test and do your best, focusing on what you're supposed to do in front of you. You can't be like, oh yeah, hey Bobby, let me get answer number 25, and your teacher right there, and y'all supposed to be working independently. You can't. But that's what we do in relationships. We're like, hey, I messed up right here. I don't want to deal with this. This is too hard. This is too ugly. I don't like it. I just feel like it'll be easier for me to just leave and not keep trying to fix this or work on it. But I'm going to go over here with Bobby, and I'm going to try to see what I can do with Bobby. That ain't going to work because you still didn't finish your test. Right. The test is still not done. The test, you're still going to have to come back to the same test. You're still going to go through things that's going to bring you back to the same test. So it's like, take the time to look at the test, evaluate the test, go through the test, complete and pass the test, so then you can move on to something different.
I love it. I love the way you just say that you laid that out, because it made perfect sense in regards to like the fear that people have in regards to self-evaluation. I mean, to find out that it may be something wrong with you, and I guess in the word, sometimes a lot of ways you have to be. I know you've already picked it out. I know we can be. I don't want to say blunt, because I don't think we're disrespectfully blunt whatsoever. I think that we are just honest
Yeah.
with the evaluation, and we like, okay, look, this is what it is, and we saying it because we love each other enough to be honest. Like, hey, this is the situation. I think most people really believe that that lies. It's a dangerous place, and again, I've learned this big word, and I love it. It is it's a dangerous narrative when people are extremely more comfortable and suited for lies than truth. That is a very dangerous situation. Where they say opinion becomes fact and fact becomes opinion, and that's really, it kind of throw everything in this big turmoil where you like, hold on, now that wasn't true. Especially when people can have a lie that they believe so much that they actually forget that is a lie.
Yes.
Like it's a lie what you're saying. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're there. I've been in situations where I've been there and I'm hearing the person say it. I'm like, whoa, that didn't happen like that. You know that, right? And also just giving the brief before we go any further. We got Miss Kyra down there as well. That's on our show. She's not a stranger to the show. So
hey Fifi. Hey.
In saying that, and Miss Kyra, we'll get you all caught up too.
Okay.
It's just like you said. It's just like, wow, we do things so unfinished sometimes. And I love when you said that. It's like that's the best way to describe it. It's like it's unfinished. We say we want to do self-evaluation, but when you actually put in the work, first of all, you have to put in the work. I love that you said that. You have to put in the work.
Yes.
It's no other way to say that about self-evaluation. You have to face some truths that, man, it's gonna be hard. We can't even lie to people. It's going to be hard to face truths about yourself that you've not originally really wanted to dive into. So when you go
or just wanted to associate with yourself,
there we go.
You were able to associate it with other people, of course, easily. You can see other people's flaws and fault find, but then when it comes to you, it just hit different now because it is about you. You like, I don't want to accept that.
Yep. And that's the good one. I'm glad that's the one that when you just said it, you don't want to accept that. It's like, so it lets you know that it's there because it's already been presented to you. Like, I don't want to accept it. I don't like the way that's going to make me look. But I think we come to a place, man, we got to be willing to say, man, that's ugly on me. And no amount of clothes, makeup, money, or anything you can imagine is going to actually cover it up. Actually, those things will magnify it. Like when they say, when people talk about with people with money, they say people with money change. I'm like, no, money just magnifies the type of person you already are on a financial level.
Yeah.
So if you are somebody that's been a saver your whole life, you get $1 million, you're going to be even tighter. You're going to learn how to, you're going to be tighter. If you're someone who's a spendthrift who don't know how to manage money, then giving you $1 million, it's just be more in debt. You just be more in debt now.
You're gonna be like, wow, what?
Wow. So
what are you doing?
Yeah, and it's like, and when someone told me that one day, because I don't like taking credit for things I ain't say. Someone told me that, and I was like, wow, and that do make a lot of sense because that would describe why when they bring up sports and athletes and other people that are really in there, and how like after they're finished with their careers, that
they bankrupt. They ain't got no money.
80% of them are bankrupt. They broke. They ain't had no money because nobody's ever taught them that type of. I almost went crazy. They never went to seek out the information needed to maintain their money. Because we want to keep it accountability. And Kyra, where we're at right now is that we're talking about the topic is self-evaluation without honesty is hopeless. So the same question I gave to Miss Hills, and she just answered so eloquently, as she always does. What do you feel is the rationale for when people want to say, when they say that statement of I need self-evaluation, I need to develop, I need to work on my health, myself, self-healing, and they are not honest with themselves or even try to really take the process seriously? How do you what would you say what would you say is the reason why people don't take self-evaluation seriously and continue to be honest or be honest with themselves in that process?
I think because a lot of people are afraid of themselves. It's easy to look at someone else and judge someone else, but when it comes to you, when you see certain traits in yourself, it kind of scares you because it reminds you that you're no better than the person that you were judging. I think Michael Jackson said it best when he said, looking at the man in the mirror, you want to change, you want to see change, pretty much you got to start with yourself. It's hard to do that because a lot of people want to paint to the rest of the world that they're perfect, and the imperfect areas of themselves, they try to hide them, mask them. They try to do everything but change it because they fear that, well, what if this is just a part of me? What if I can't change it? Well, you don't know if you never tried. Some people, I think they're afraid of change. Well, if I change this, then what else is that going to change? That's going to change some dynamics of me or of my life. And how do I change it? What if I can't change it? And if I can't change it, then and the rest of the world knows this about me, then how would the rest of the world look at me? When the whole time you need to be thinking about how you look at yourself. You the one that got to look at you in the mirror, not the rest of the world. If you decide not to change what is wrong with you, or you decide to throw blinders on and not be completely honest with yourself and say, you know what? I think that I am not a good listener. I like to talk, I like to talk and I like to be heard, but I'm not a good listener. That, if you don't take that and realize that and be honest with yourself about it, you're just going to keep on doing it. And then you're going to keep wondering why people keep telling you, like, look, you're not a good listener. You're going to keep wondering why don't nobody want to tell you nothing. Don't nobody want to talk to you about stuff. You know, especially it hits really hard once it becomes someone that you care about and someone that you love.
Right. Absolutely.
Now they don't want to come to you. They don't, you know, you finding out stuff that everybody else knew, and you sitting there like, well, damn, what? When was anybody gonna tell me? Ain't nobody gonna tell you, because you don't listen. And it's not the first time you've heard that. It's just the first time that you've actually been forced to take a look at yourself.
Right. Absolutely.
Now that you've taken a look at yourself, what are you gonna do about it?
That's always that big question. That's
Exactly.
that's always a big question. And as you were just talking, because basically everything you said was verbatim to what Fifi said and everything else. But look at this quote. This quote is by Shannon Adler. She's an author. It says, "Courage doesn't happen when you have all the answers. It happens when you are ready to face the questions you have been avoiding your whole entire life."
Yep.
And and that just go right into it. It's like where you say courage, because it takes courage to self-evaluate and sit back and really to be like, okay, what is it that's going on? Because it can't be everybody. That'd be the big thing. It can't be everybody if it keeps reoccurring. I know we said this before, Ms. Hills, you said before, it's like the common denominator is that spiritual mathematics when it comes to issue. The common denominator is you. And in the situation. So if this person say they got a problem with you, this person say they got a problem with you, this person say they got a problem with you, this person, it keep going like that. And everybody like, and you keep saying, no, all of them got the problem. Like, now it's not to say that they didn't have issues, because we all do.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you having issues with everyone, with every personality, every worker type, it's got to be you. You got to start looking at yourself.
And I feel like that goes back to the heart of the question. It's that identity crisis. Like, you identify yourself as good, or as I got this one hang up, but everything else is cool. It goes back into that where you feel like if you address that one thing, it's going to change your whole identity and people's perception of you, like you just said. And I feel like it all goes back to understanding you have to do this. This is not something that is optional, even though people make it optional. It's not optional. If you want growth, if you want maturity, if you want the life you want to have, you have to do this. It's not an option. You have to do this. And I feel like, to what you're saying, 80, it's like people want to be a millionaire, but they don't want to do the work to become a millionaire.
Right.
They don't put the time and hours in. And it's just like what the quote just said. You have to do this. I feel like that's the thing people not understanding. They hear it, but they're not understanding it. It's a requirement. You have to do this if you want to see growth. And I feel like people think that the change that they have to make is more than just me doing the work for myself. I feel like they think the change has to be, once I start doing this work, other people got to change around me too. That ain't the case. Other people may not change around you.
Right.
It may just be you. And then you may have to, because you're changing and growing and developing, you may have to not be with these same people, around these same people, and move. So it's that being uncomfortable that people are scared of, because it's the unknown. They don't know what it is, what it's going to be. They're comfortable with the life they got right now and how it's set up. And they don't want to be shaken up. They don't want to be taken out of that comfort zone into the unknown, into this uncomfortable place. And all the time, it may not be necessarily that you're the problem. It could be the choices that you're making. You're constantly making these choices that are not helping you, that are putting you in these situations that end in you feeling depressed, that end in you feeling disappointed in yourself, that ends in you compromising who you really are. That is what it means when it's like you're the common denominator. It ain't always necessarily you did something wrong in a relationship, but it's just that it goes back to what we said. If you don't do that self-reflection and evaluation, whether you're in a relationship with somebody or not, you're going to be stagnant. You're going to be stuck. You're not gonna move forward, and that's where the hating comes from, when you be hating on other people. No, you ain't mad that Rebecca got the promotion. You ain't mad that she elevated. You're mad because you didn't do the work for yourself to be seen, to have that same opportunity that she got.
That's true.
That's what it is. It's like we start to look at things in a wrong skew because we haven't dealt with it. You got on dirty glasses, clean them. It's like clean up. We don't want to do the cleaning up. We don't want to do the work. It keeps going back to doing the work, because it's like when you go to job, what do? You work. You know that the outcome of doing this work, whether you like it or not, because most people don't like their 9-to-5s, but they know the outcome is, the goal is for me to get this paycheck so I can make sure my bills is paid. I can have money to do what I want to do, save, splurge, whatever. That perspective has to be applied to you doing the work in your own life for yourself, for your own growth. You tired of always not having a relationship last long, or you tired of being with the same kind of dude or female that's always hurting you and breaking your heart and breaking up and cheating on you? That means you got to do something different so you can choose different. You can identify those areas that ain't cool or that will set you back, and you got to make a different choice now. But you have to be informed. And I feel like doing the work is informing ourselves of, this is where I need to focus on right here.
Keep my phone on charger.
Everything else is good, but I need to focus on this right here, because this is going to sink the ship. If I don't focus on this right here, this is going to sabotage everything else. All the stuff is good, because one bad apple is going to spoil the whole bunch. And I have to really give attention to this so that I can make sure it don't mess up what we doing. That's what it's about. For real, for real.
Yeah. But you can't do none of that until you're honest with yourself first. You have to be able to admit to yourself when you find fault in yourself. And I would think that being honest with yourself should be easier than being honest to everybody else. You know, it's you. Why do you need to hide yourself from you? What are you scared of? You know, the only thing you can do is change it. You know, that should be the easy part. But I see how, you know, people are. Sometimes it's easier for some people to just, okay, well, I'll go to my therapist, and I tell my therapist everything, open up, and, you know, and let my therapist tell me what's wrong with me. But your therapist, at the end of the day, your therapist going to your therapist's house, and you're going to your house, and you're still you. And if you haven't done anything to change the things that you feel like needs to be improved, then you're still going to be that same person you just opened up to your therapist about. You're not going to feel any better about yourself. So why not just tell yourself? That should be the easiest person in the world to be like, okay, I know this about myself. Don't nobody else even got to know. I can work on it. I know. And I can be honest with myself and say, yeah, I'm not proud of this. You know, I don't like this part about me, and it's changeable, or it's something that I can work on. There are goals that I can work toward to become better, to become a better person, or to become just better in my own eyes. Because if you don't like you, then how do you expect other people to like you? If you don't want to be around,
I think you kind of answered your own question too at the same time while you was giving that detail. Is just why would it be so hard for other, you know, for people to lie to themselves than it is just to other people? And what I noticed is that because people, you can put up fronts to people.
yep,
It's easy to, you know, it's easy to front to other people. But you got to be around yourself 24/7.
that part.
You know, I can't. You know, we can't step. You know, Kyra can't step out of her body. Randy can't step out of his body. You know, Miss Hills can't step out of her body. We have to be around us 24/7, 365. So we know, you know, what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We know how we act, and we know our true intentions and all that nature. So I think that'll be like the answer what you just said to why, you know, like why it would be so hard for us to do it, because man, it's like what you said. It's man, it's difficult because to see yourself and to know that you could possibly be this trait is difficult. It's really difficult to kind of get your mind wrapped around. And what we should be saying, for the most part, and like I said, for most people who've been uh, in therapy or counseling, is that when you get to see yourself a certain way, and it's smack dab in front of your face, it would be that's the point where you're like, okay, wow, that's me. I need to change this. But you can't change nothing until you, like you said, you take accountability
Right.
about it, and that's the part. And where's that? I just had this question for y'all. I just had this question.
And sometimes it doesn't even need changing, because sometimes the world has a way of making you feel like because you're not like everybody else, then you're wrong. Sometimes it is a matter of, okay, I need to fix this. I need to work on this. I need to change this. But sometimes it's just a matter of embracing who you are. Some people actually hide certain things about themselves because they feel like the rest of the world is not going to like it, but it's something special about them that they can just embrace. They're walking around feeling insecure about themselves instead of just being honest with yourself, and embracing you. As long as it's not, something that's making you a bad person or hurting anyone. Some people really just don't want to be honest with themselves, honestly, because it takes them, they're afraid of being removed from the popularity contest. They're afraid of being looked at as being weird or, just different. Different is not always bad. Sometimes it's just a matter of embracing, your differences and just being honest with yourself. Okay, I might not be, if I'm in high school, I might not be the best in sports. Now I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna try to fake it to make it, but everybody who got eyes can see that I'm running down the wrong end. I'm running the wrong way with the basketball down the court. Because I don't know about this game. I'm tripping over over my feet on the dang on field. But you might be a talented poet. You might be able to sing. You might be amazing with the instrument. But because people put more love into sports and things like that, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going to embrace that I play the trumpet at home, or I just not even play it at all. I know I'm good at it. I know I have a heart for it. But people going to think I'm a geek. People going to think, I'm gay. People going to think this, that, and the other, instead of just embracing it and saying, the hell with other people. How do I feel about me?
You think that's a way now?
I do. I think that's part of it. I don't think every single person who takes a look at themselves see something bad. Sometimes they take a look at themselves and see different, and they become scared.
I'm about to say I agree with you to a point, but I think that where we at right now in society, I think people are embracing what's different. I think that in some cases,
it's the wrong kind of different.
But like you said, everything different ain't right. Everything different ain't wrong. It's both ways.
Wrong kind of different.
But I definitely think in terms of people's gifts and things of that nature, I ain't gonna lie. I think these young people embrace their gifts a lot more than we ever have. I think they really do. I think they're out here embracing it. Like I think where most of the issues that come from, I think now that it's become, like you said, so much of a popularity. I think it's just people are more like, I'm going to be I think you have a lot more. It's like different, but everybody want to be the carbon copy,
right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
And I just use that as an example. I guess a better example, you know, a little bit of better of example would be like a person who's an introvert. You're an introvert in a world full of extroverts. Everybody wants attention these days. Everybody wants everyone. Hey, look at me. Look at what I can do. Everybody wants to be around, you know, people and have all these friends, you know. But let's say that a person is an extrovert, and to them, they're like, well, dang, if I just embrace the fact that I like to be by myself. I would rather be by myself, enjoying my own company, doing my own thing, than to be out here all in everybody's faces, everybody looking at me, attention on me, feeling pressured, feeling like I always have to do something to wow the world. You know, I would rather be by myself. They don't want to, that would be something hard to embrace because the rest of the world is telling you, well, what you hiding? Why are you by yourself? Are you depressed? Do you got something, you know, oh, she's weird. Y'all, you can't trust the quiet people. We don't never see her outside. She must, you know, it's always people have something to say, and which makes it hard for people to embrace being different and being honest with themselves. If you just say, you know what, I'm going to say from this day forward, F what everybody else got to say. I want to be comfortable. I want to be comfortable within my own skin. I want to be comfortable within my own company. I want to be comfortable with me, who I am. So if I'm an introvert, I'm going to let it be known, look, I don't want to be bothered today. No, I do not want to go nowhere. I'm already at home. I'm watching my show, or I'm asleep. Yes, at 3:00 in the afternoon, I came home and went to sleep. Go do you, you know, and be happy with that. No, I don't want company. I can talk to you over the phone, but when I'm done talking, I'm done talking. No disrespect to you. I just don't like being bothered all the time. That does not mean that I'm a hobbit. That does not mean I don't want friends. That does not mean I'm doing something weird. That does not mean that I'm doing something illegal. It just means that I like my own company. And for the first time, I'm actually looking at myself and I'm actually embracing that. And I'm actually being honest with myself and saying, you know what? All these people are standing at my door and they came here and they about to go out to this party and have a good time, but I really don't feel like going. No, I don't have nothing else better to do. I want to sit here naked and watch SpongeBob and eat cereal. That's what I'm doing. That's what makes me happy.
Yeah, it's like you got some problems.
Hey, that's what makes me happy. That's what makes me happy.
No, I'm just messing.
But I mean, a person is not, as long as you're not being honest with yourself, you're always going to be
in terms of, because I understand what you're saying. To that extent, let me put this question your way so I can kind of wrangle things back in a little bit to what we was talking about. When you talk about the self-evaluation, I think like the biggest thing is that and you kind of maybe you hit on it a little bit. It's probably a good thing that you went that way. Is that I think that a lot of us with self-evaluation is not so much what we find out, but it's how we think people may perceive it a lot. But That's why we call it a self-evaluation. So what would y'all say is what do you think is the biggest obstacle? I know we kind of talked about this, but I want to kind of get to a couple of different things. What do you think is the biggest obstacle when it comes to bam, you discovered you after talking, you sit down, you discover that this habit that you have you finally able to say, bam, I accept it as a habit. I know we first said acceptance. You accept, man, I got this habit. Oh my goodness, I got this habit. I got this trait. Um, what is the next step you feel after you discover this habit that you have in regards to getting rid of it? Or you know what I'm saying? Um, exercising in a way to remove it from your characteristics. What do you think is the next step?
I mean, to be honest, I feel like this. I feel like the acknowledgement is the first step, yes.
Right.
And I feel like the second step is trying to understand what impact has it had on you. Because I feel like when you acknowledge something, you can admit it or see it or say, like, yeah, I'm holding this, it's tangible. But until you understand how it's affecting you and how it's showing up in your life, I feel like just like what we talked about before, where people just going to therapy for the sake of going,
Right.
is not going to make a change or a difference, or you can effectively do the right work to change it until you understand how it's affecting you. And then I feel like once you know how it's affecting you, it's just like, okay, I use myself. I was getting perms. My hair would not grow past my shoulders. My hair was unhealthy. I could not keep it up and maintain it because I knew nothing about taking care of hair unless I went to the hair salon. That was a problem for me. And I had to acknowledge, hey, you're spending a lot of money on getting your hair done and it's not healthy. You still don't know what you're doing with it. Why are you doing this? I accepted that. And then once I accepted that, I had to look at, okay, these are the issues, or this is how it's negatively affecting me. My goal is to have healthy long hair that I know I can have, but because I keep choosing this same thing,
Right.
it's not helping me. I need to make a change. So once I identify, hey, the perm is the problem. It ain't the salon, it ain't the hairdresser, it's the perm. I need to eliminate this perm so that I can start to see my healthy hair. I can go down this path to see if this is going to help me, because all the time, just because you make a step forward, that doesn't mean it's still going in the right direction. It could be going in a different direction, and you have to go down that path to learn, this wasn't right, let's go another way. But I feel like once I accept it, you have to identify how it's affecting you. Once you identify how it's affecting you and what it's doing, then I feel like the next step after that is to put a plan in place to see what is going to be the best choices to make moving forward to help you. Whether it's just, I need to apply discipline, I need to be consistent, I need to make a schedule and stick to it, I need to call somebody and tell them every day at this time, I need you to call me and remind me to do this, this, and this, like whatever it needs to be.
Right.
Like that's how you have to step into it. That's my personal opinion from my work that I've done for myself.
Cool beans. I like
My
that.
opinion is pretty much put in the work. Be willing to put in the work. If you want to make changes about yourself, that you look at yourself in the mirror and there are things that you don't like, put in the work to change it. If there are things that about yourself that you do like, but you've been hiding it because because of acceptance or whatever like that, put in the work to being able to accept yourself and embrace yourself. But
Now,
it is going to take work.
You saying that? Quick question, because that's very broad a little bit. When you say put in the work, what exactly the work that you would put in regards to you being personally?
So, like Fifi said, make a plan. Find out what it is, what the problem is. Make a plan and stick to it. Whatever your plan is. If you know that, for instance, you're a liar. No one likes a liar. So every day you gotta check yourself. You know when you about to get to throw a lie out there. Once the words are out there, you can't take them back. So
Right.
Catch them before they come out.
Absolutely.
Put in the work. It's not gonna be easy, but it's not impossible.
Right. I agree with both of y'all was saying. I think this is another quote. This from Roy Bennett. And it says, let the improvement of yourself keep you so busy that you have no time to criticize others.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
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 So
And I agree with that, because going back to what we were saying about the whole work thing and comparison, that is the biggest reason or distraction that people are not making moves, because they're like, number one, they're scared to acknowledge it and make a plan and make some steps and move forward, because they're like, oh, what are people, like you said, the perception, people are going to think this about me if they know this about me. If I expose this and they see this, they're going to think this. And I think the other reason is comparison. If I make this change and I start doing this stuff and people are comfortable with me in this place and the way I'm set up, it's going to make them uncomfortable now, because I'm doing something different that they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to be uncomfortable, and I'm not going to like that confrontation and that conflict that it's going to bring, because they're used to me always saying yes. They're used to me always doing exactly what they want to do, not questioning, just going with it. Now, when they ask me, I'm hesitant. Now, when they ask me, I say no, or I say I'll get back to you, and then it's probably going to be a no. They don't like hearing no.
right.
Now they're irritated. Now well, what's going on with you? Every time we say something, you always against it. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's what I'm trying to say, that those are the components that we have to additionally attack once we're deciding to do something different. You have to, after you know for yourself what's going to happen, you have to address what's around you that's going to be affected, so you can prepare yourself to not let that be an excuse of why you stop doing the work and doing what you need to do for yourself.
And I will also add that nobody is ever going to be perfect.
That's
The
good.
goal is to get to a position to where you're comfortable, where you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know, okay, I did something. I actually like the person I am, or
Be proud.
you know, I actually made a change. You know, one personal example I will put out there is I am not a timely person. I have never been on time. I never thought I would ever be on time. I was like, I'm gonna be late to my own funeral. Talking about like, my bad, y'all. I got stuck in traffic. My casket fell off the back. But it was always something. Like, but after losing jobs, you know, or being reprimanded all the time, even when I kept the job, they, you know, I'm always being reprimanded. It's always the same thing, you know, attendance. And then like, I know, like in my mind, I'm like, I'm making excuses. At the time, it wasn't excuses for me, because I'm like, this is what's really going. Sometimes I was on some bull, but most times it was real, like, hey, well, you know, I got caught in traffic, or I had to, you know, my kids, you know, I had to do something at the school and blah, 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 blah. And I had to get to a point where I threw all the excuses out the window.
Right.
And I looked at myself and was like, you know what? It's not these jobs. It's not my friends. Because when it's not just work where I was late everywhere. Anywhere you could be late, I was late. I was late where there was no time frame to even be there. Okay. So I was like, I have to make a conscious effort every day to be on time. Right. I don't care where it is. I don't care who it's for. I have to make a conscious effort. If that means I have to wake up earlier, that's what I'm going to have to do, lose a little bit of sleep. But that means I'm going to have to go to sleep earlier. If I know if I'm driving a whole hour away and I got to beat the traffic and I have to allow myself time for traffic, then that's what I got to do. Now, it's easy for me to sit here and come up with a plan. It was like, okay, I know what I got to do. I know what's wrong. The problem is my attendance. I ain't never on time. How to fix it? Leave earlier, wake up earlier, whatever, what have you. The hardest part is actually putting it into action.
Doing it.
And the work. And when I actually was honest with myself and I got tired of it, it became a little easier for me to put in the work, because now this is something that I want. This is something that, you know, I got to look at myself. I'm tired. I got tired of looking, you know, being a disappointment, you know, or people being mad, getting upset, my friends, you know, co-workers, what have you. I got tired of that. and it started playing on my emotions. I felt like it started making me look bad. And I didn't want that. So those things right there pushed me to be a little uncomfortable to get the goal reached.
I like that. I like the fact that you said it made you uncomfortable. So that makes you just be right there. Is that we got to get to a place, real talk, when we in our self-evaluation. We already started. Y'all both pretty much said everything is in regards to it. The first one was accountability. You got to take accountability for what you done and what your fault is. You take ownership of the situation. The ownership meaning, like you said in your place, there, I'm late. I'm not timely. I got to take ownership of that. And then next is that it's something that y'all might have said, but I love the way that you just put it, Kyrie. You said I had to get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a place where you're uncomfortable with the continual habit that you keep doing, because now other people, not only are they noticing it, you starting to see their actions towards you. It's almost like, man, they always late. Why am I telling them they always late? Why I need to tell them they ain't gonna be on time?
Right.
Then you start to get the reputation of being
Dang.
late. You start to get the reputation for being undependable. Or like you said with the liar, you start to get the reputation of the liar, where nobody trusts anything that you say or anything that you do. And like you were saying, it's like you have this place where you're at and you get to see those things. And I love the way y'all both went down the list of what you had to, what it takes to do it. It lets you know that in everything, it's got to be you. You got to be the one who initiate each one of these things in your life. If you know that you got it. I realized that a while ago is that the key to happiness is really progress. And once you can get progress and you can get consistent growth, the maturity, and you understand that constantly working on yourself is where it's going to be at. Because what happens, just like that one quote we just read, when you're so busy improving yourself, you ain't got time to think about other people's faults and down things, because you're busy focused on making sure you're the best version of yourself to where you got to go. And when people see that, then you start to see some real change in other people, because they're not like, "Whoa, dang, this person, they ain't critiquing me." Because they wonder when you get around certain people and they're not never getting critiqued. They're like, "Man, you don't never critique me. You're easy to talk to. Man, your advice," and then your advice becomes more acceptable because they see it working in you. They're like, "Oh, I see that. Well, if he said that, because you're just judgmental." That's why I knew a lot of times I had to change the way my frame of mind is, how I came to people. Like, man, that's stupid. Why would you do something? That's really stupid. And then you got to realize it ain't stupid to them.
Right.
They did it because
it made sense to them.
Yep, it worked. It was working for a minute. Like, what? Like, you really did that? It's like, no, it's just crazy. And I love when you said, Kyra, too, and it's a big thing when it comes to self-evaluation. It's no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as perfection. So you can only get improvement. You can only improve.
Yes.
You can only improve. You'll never be perfect.
And I say that because I'm still not. I'm still working at being on time, but I have come a long way. The fact that I even want to be on time, the fact that it means something to me to be on time, that I'm actually putting forth the effort to be on time, I've come a long way. And most times now I am on time. Am I on time all the time? No, I am not. My honey, Mr. Johnson, then got upset with me a couple times because I ain't on time. He's a very timely person, very timely. But he was one, you're one of the biggest reasons, one of my biggest motivations for me being able to take that accountability and look at myself and realize that, okay, I need to work on this timely thing, and been supportive of it. You've been, very supportive. And so just being able to look at myself and be like, okay, I know what I need to do. I try to do it, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, now I'm on time everywhere I go, every single day, every single time. Because no.
But it's a
That would be a lie.
it's a steady
It's a
growth.
step in the right
But it's
direction.
steady growth.
Steady
Yes.
more like
And
that.
I
It's like
see the
steady.
change I see the change in myself. I have been, since I've been on my job, I've been on my job for about going on 5 months now. I have not been late once without an excuse. I know, yay! Unless it was an excuse, like, I had to go to the dentist, but that was already I already let my employer know, like, hey, I got a dentist appointment next month, at this time, and blah, blah, blah. But other than excused absence, not even absent, just late, I have been on time every day. So when I got my evaluation at the end of my 90 days, that was something that I was really proud of, because I actually got the high one. That was where I got one of the highest marks, was in attendance. I ain't never seen that since school, because my mama made sure you getting up out of here. But since school, I never saw that.
Yeah.
When I was in the military, because they did different stuff. But after the military, working a civilian job, it was always an issue with me being on time. So the fact that, I got my evaluation at the end of my 90 days, and that was one of my highest marks, was my attendance, never being late, always being in, never calling off, things like that. I was really proud of myself. Now, anybody else might look at me and be like, girl, you grown as hell. How and why is that even a goal? Because I knew that was a problem, and I recognized it, and I took accountability for it, and I made a goal, and I changed it, and I seen it flourish. I seen myself grow. I didn't turn back, and I'm still growing. Everybody got their own, no matter how small it might look to somebody else, no matter how stupid it may look to somebody else. You are the person looking at you in the mirror. You're the one that matters. Your opinion matters about you. You got to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, that's 100. Because that's all I was gonna say anyway. You kind of went into what you were saying before. You said put in the work, and that's what you did. You put in the work. You was like, look, I got to go to sleep earlier. I got to do these things. I got to get out there early. I know this time frame and everything else. And if you surrounded by the right people who hold you to accountability, they'll let you know. I got a saying, and most people don't know what I'm saying. I was like, man, I'm about to remove any excuse you can have for not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. Like, we're going to remove it. And the reason why I do that for people is because I did it for myself.
Yep.
I love them. Like, I can, the talk is cheap. That you have to do some things for yourself. Like when someone say, like, man, I used to have a habit of getting angry because I just didn't people would say some things, and I'm like, and yeah, it really be some dumb stuff. But I had to give myself, like, Randy, you can't approach it with that type of energy, because a lot of people may not know no better. And if you don't know better, it's hard to do better if you don't know better.
Right.
So it's just, I looked at things when it comes to that, like what you just said, the improve, like one, and another aspect that you brought up too is that other people might say blah blah. That's when you got to cut out other people. People don't matter, because that's why it's called self-evaluation.
Yeah,
that's why it ain't called group evaluation. It's self-evaluation. So sometimes you got to move people out the way. Everybody won't understand, and that's good, because it's your blueprint. You working on your own blueprint. Yeah. They wouldn't understand it. They ain't got the same blueprint. They got to work on their own.
Yeah.
And I remember I was told one time that wise habits are like the compound interest of self-improvement, and it improves the same way money multiplies with interest. So with the more work that you put in with your self-improvement, the wiser habits you start to develop. Because the bad habits you ain't doing no more, because you're putting in the self-improvement to do what you need to do. You're like, look, okay, this is what I got to do. If you know that, like, look, like somebody, let's say you got somebody that uses profanity a lot, you know what I mean? and they don't want to cuss no more. So what ended up happening is that they do everything possible to keep from doing it. Some people make the swear jar. Some people do all this stuff, and they do all these other different things. Like, oh, I'm about to do it. Oh, I gotta do it like this. But then they start to see the effort of it going away. You know what I'm saying? All the way to the point where they could be around somebody cussing a whole bunch, and it never affects them. They're like, well, okay, that's fine with it. But those are the things that we all have to worry about, look at when we're doing like a lot of the self-evaluation to ourselves.
I want to add too, determination. I feel like that's the next step. Like after you know what you, if you acknowledge it, you accept it, you know what you're going to be doing because you see what is the issue or the problem, and you know the plan to do. It's applying determination, because when you apply determination, that means you're not going to give up. You're going to find any way. If this avenue don't work, you're going to find another way. You're not going to, if you mess up, you're going to get back on track. Like you're going to be determined. You're going to keep moving forward until you get there. And I feel like that's the biggest mindset difference in people who accomplish what they want to do and people who don't. Determination. You have to be determined. You have to apply that and it's moment by moment. It ain't just.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
It ain't just I said I was gonna be determined at the beginning and now I'm not. So I messed up and that's it. No, I was determined, I fell off. Let's get back on determination. I'm about to be determined again. This is even more motivation to push me to be more determined. I gotta keep doing it. I gotta keep moving. I can't make excuses, like you said. I have to identify I'm making excuses, and then I have to learn how to eliminate them so they don't get in the way. It's just determination.
I love that. I think both you and Kyra just said the biggest thing, like you said, determination, and then it says that accountability. And what Kyra saying is it just makes everything like you. It brings everything back to you. It brings it back to you. It's like, look, I got to have the determination to do this, and I got to be accountable for the things I've done. So no matter what I do, I got to constantly work at it. That's why I love that phrase you said, do the work. You got to do the work. And everything people do, it's just like, if you are going to be a good, this is a really good one. What separated Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James? What separates these guys that when people talk about sports, especially basketball, that these three guys' name always come up in an argument of the best players ever? Some people are like, oh, because they can play basketball real good. I'm like, a lot of people can play basketball real good. That's why they got an NBA and they pay them a lot of money. It's these guys' work ethic that will make them even better. And you've heard it from every other player and other many people. They're like, man, it ain't no Kobe Bryant. This guy, while we was at the club, this guy was in the gym. They were studying tape. Jordan, Kobe, they're like, man, they studying tape. They're looking at games. They're crafting their skills. LeBron James is a 39-year-old man, but he plays like he's somebody 20 because he's taking care of his body in the way that he needed to, so that way he can have longevity at this sport. Some people are like, that's an oddity. No, this is someone who's disciplined and took their craft seriously. When people take that's why I tell people, like, you got skills, like you can be gifted in a lot of different things. You can be gifted. I remember my nephews and them was running with me one time, and they was like trying to raise me. They're like, "Oh man," it was like, "Uncle Randy, I still can't believe that you can still beat everybody. And you're a way bigger guy now."
Yeah.
And I was like, because I got a God-given talent for running. It's always been like that. But when I was active in sports and track and stuff, and you can ask Kyra, I'd be up there working out and training, even when there ain't nobody up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm up there in the rain, cold. I'm up there. I was training. I was determined that I didn't want to beat nobody. I didn't want to be beat by nobody.
Yeah.
I didn't like losing. I tell somebody, I am not a good loser. I don't like losing. So I'm gonna do everything you got to do to cultivate it. If you're a good dancer, you got to spend your time dancing. You have to cultivate it. You got to be on yourself. You got to be like, okay. Some people say it's what you call it. You have to have I know we said this before. You gotta have an obsession, obsession to your gift, to see it go all the way through. Because most people that are good at things, that are outstanding at what they do, they're obsessed with it. They like, boom, I am this. That's why you see a dancer, they could be in there from the beginning of the day to the very end, because they want to perfect the move. They want to perfect the craft. They want to get the choreography just right. They hard on it. And I know, Fifi, because I know that you're a dancer, but you see, I remember one time I was watching, and man, do these people put in work. Dancers put in so much work. They do not play. I'm like, the move looked good to me. This person's like, no, it wasn't. The timer was off.
Yep.
Get it back on time. They serious. They're like, boom, get it together. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, off. And they are practicing. But what I noticed, you can find out who want it.
Yeah.
Just talking about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you know what?
Because they'll know it. They'll know. Oh man, that was a little off. That was a little off. No matter what you do, painters, anything that you do in life, you said, Gary, anything that you do in life, and you trying to be the best at it, you got to put in work. You can have the God-given talent, but you got to put in work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else you need though? Motivation.
Motivation. That's what she said. Determination.
No, that's two different things. Self-motivation. Not motivation from other people. You got to be able to count on yourself. You need to take your accountability. Use your accountability, your accountability to be motivation towards your determination. Because determination can break down if you don't have any motivation. Here's what I'm saying. Here's an example. If you're a smoker, you've been smoking for 15 years. You go to the doctor, they tell you, well, we see a lesion on your lungs. Now, we don't know if it's cancerous or not. We have to do the biopsy. But until you get that biopsy, we just want you to stop smoking. From this day forward, stop smoking. Now, if you've been smoking for 15 years, that's not something that's just easy for you to do, just to stop smoking. I don't care what the doctor told you. You could say like, okay, I know what I need to do. But as soon as you get out that doctor's office, you're going to want to smoke you a cigarette because that's what you've been doing. Determination can only go so far without motivation. Now that you've already taken accountability, you're like, dang, this smoking has caused me to have this lesion on my lungs. I have another doctor's appointment coming up. They're going to tell me whether it's cancer or not. But they've already told me that I need to stop smoking. That's the accountability. That accountability, you use the motivation so that when you're determined, you could be gone 5 days. You could be like, okay, it's been 5 days since I smoked anything. Dang, I'm still having these cravings, but I'm determined. I'm determined. All it takes is for that determination to break down, because you're still weak during the determination phase. Things can happen. While you're determined, it's been 5 days. Let's say, something, you had a death in the family, or you lost your job or something like that. It takes that one big stressor to be like, oh, I need a cigarette. I'm so stressed out. I need a cigarette. In order to stop that, you got to go to that motivation. What motivated you to be determined? Dang, I can't have that cigarette because I got this doctor's appointment coming up. I might have cancer. Do I really want to smoke this cigarette? I stopped because I'm afraid I'm about to die. I can't. I can hold out. I did it for 5 days. I'm gonna do it for 5 more because when my appointment come, I'm gonna do that. When the determination becomes weak, you need to go back on what motivated you in the first place. Because sometimes in your determination, you can forget about why you're doing this in the first place. Why am I doing this? Determination can be painful. Determination can be very uncomfortable. It pushes you past your comfort zone. You could be determined to come in first place in a race, but now your legs hurting. Now you can barely breathe. You feel like you got to throw up. But let's just say you're in the Olympics. You getting all this money. Let's say you want to pay for, I don't know, your kids to go to college, and this is the only way that you're gonna get this money. You're gonna say, forget the pain, forget the I throw up at the finish line. I'm gonna keep on going. This is my motivation. I can't forget why I've been doing this. That right there is gonna push that determination even more. None of that would have started without accountability. So use your accountability to motivate you into determination. Use your accountability for motivation for your determination.
Yep, I agree with that. I sat there as you was talking, and I looked up the definition of both of them. Motivation is it says the reason, or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And then determination says the firmness of purpose. So I definitely understand what you're talking about now. So
Yeah.
that make perfect sense in regards to it. And all in all, we just saying to everybody, because I appreciate y'all on tonight. We just want to tell people that the reason why it's so important to just wrap everything up, the reason why it's so important to just be honest in all your self-evaluation, and why you shouldn't just do things because it seems to be the popular choice, is that you got to remember at the end of the day, the popular vote don't even count.
Right.
And I love that about government, because it'll say this many people voted for a person. They're like, so he should automatically get elected. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with the Electoral College, but it's a good example that all the people could be, a majority of people could have voted for one person, but it doesn't matter because that popular vote don't get you in. Mm-hmm. It's about the number, the delegates that you got in, or in other words, when it comes to this, is that it's the matter of the importance of everything that you have going on. So you have to understand that when you're doing self-development, is that it's not about the popular, it's not about the trend, it's strictly about you. This is all about you. It's about your self-improvement. It's about getting yourself self-aware of the things in your life that you may be aware of, and a lot of the things that you may not be aware of. It's like looking in a one-way mirror, and seeing yourself and putting in the work, as we just said there, the accountability, being motivated, and then determined to see it all the way through to be the best version of yourself. So I want to thank everybody for tonight, as we do all the time. Please like, subscribe, and share, and continue to support us over here at Unfiltered. And we thank y'all so much and so often. We thank Kyra for coming on tonight. Mr. Reese, everybody, Mr. Reese is okay. Just to let y'all know, he is all right. He's fine. He'll be back with us next week. Miss Hills, do you have anything you want to say before I let all these wonderful people go for tonight?
No, everything's been said.
Cool beans. So on top of that, y'all, next week, Wednesday, 7:45, Unfiltered. We're rolling down to the end of our season, of season 4, and we thank y'all so much for all y'all support, and everything else, and appreciate y'all again. Thank you for all the prayers, and we will see all of you next week